Haidar from Hague back then, who his brothers might fall. And all those who are sick in this community, we beg Allah that Allah would relieve them of their sickness and give them a speedy recovery so they can be with us again. Also, the deceased, those who have passed away within our community, we beg Allah to forgive them their sins, have mercy on their souls, and grant them a place in Jannatul Firdaus. We would like to welcome Brother Jambo Ismail from Florida, and all those who are visiting our mosque for the first time. We welcome you and we hope that you will be here with us more often. I beseech you, as I beseech myself, to turn your cell phones off. Please turn your cell phones off. It's not fair to disturb the khatib while he is delivering the khutbah. And as the box is going around, we ask you to make generously your contributions, as your contributions goes a far way in helping us to meet the expenses of the masjid. We also ask of you, and it's very important, that tonight we have our monthly class, and tonight's class will be done by Dr. Shafiq Chase, and the class starts just after the Maghrib Salah. So we urge you to come out and be with us on these classes, the first Friday in every month, and then every Thursday night we have another class that's conducted by Brother Irshad Ibrahim. Brothers and sisters, permanent or temporary, but we hope, inshallah, that we will have his service as he was doing in England. So the khutbah today will be done in no other than, and I would like to welcome him on behalf of the Executive and the Board of Trustees, Brother Wazeem Abdullah. Brother Wazeem.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله الحكيم الخبير الذي وفق من يشاء من عباده لتحصيل المكاسب والأجور يرجون تجارة لن تبور وأشهد أن لا إله إلا هو وإليه المصير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله مصطفاه بلغ شريعة ربه إلى خلق الكاملة دعاهم إلى تمسك بالسنة وحذرهم من البدع وصلى الله وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آل بيته وأصحابه السائرين على هديه في كل حالاته وأفعاله وأقواله وأوقاته. أما بعد، عباد الله، فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله جل وجل، فاتقوا الله في السر والعلن وراقبوه مراقبة أصحاب القلوب الخاشعة، وإياكم والأمن من مكره والقنوط من بره، وتعرضوا لأسباب رحمته ومغفرته، واعلموا كل سبب يوصلكم إلى رضوانه وفضله ويقربكم من جنته ويباعدكم عن ناره، فإن رحمة الله قريب من المحسنين. وقد قال تعالى آمرا لكلكم بذلك: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. عباد الله، لقد تكاسل وتشاغل أكثرنا عن صيام التطوع رغم ما ورد في شأنه من أحاديث النبوية العديدة المبينة لأنواعه، مرغبة فيه معدودة لثماره، وما فيه من حسنات كثيرة وأجور كبيرة وتكفير للسيئات ومكاسبة طيبة تنفع العبد في دنياه وأخراه. وإنكم الآن لتنعمون بالعيش في أحد الأربعة أشهر الحرم، بل في أوائل الشهر المحرم الذي هو أفضل الشهور السنة صياما بعد شهر رمضان، إذ صح عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: أفضل الصيام بعد شهر رمضان صيام شهر الله محرم، فأكثروا الصيام في هذا الشهر، واحصروا شديدا على العاشر منه والذي يعرف بيوم العاشوراء، وصوموه وصوموا معكم أهليكم صغارا وكبارا وذكورا وإناثا، فإن في صيامه تكفير الذنوب سنة كاملة. O Muslims, we praise and we glorify Allah, and we send salutation upon our final messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, today, so that our mind would not be wavered too much, I will speak a bit about the Hijrah and the significance of the Hijrah and the New Year. Then I will touch about the month of Muharram, and more specifically on the day of Ashura, and I will touch a bit about the Shaheed of Islam, Hussein ibn Ali radiyallahu anhuma. Muslims, we entered into a new year, the year 1444 after the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Mecca to Medina. A demarcation in history that Umar bin al-Khattab, he was looking for some sign or some moment in history that he would start the recording of the Islamic year. And so different choices or different opinion came around. From the birth and the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the first time revelation was sent to him, a different other occasion was suggested to Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. But when the suggestion came that it should be the hijrah, or the demarcation of the hijrah, that the counting should start, he readily accept. He readily accept because the Muslims individually, those of the Muhajirin, they understood clearly the struggle that the Muslims they faced in Makkah, from the persecution and the difficulty to practice their basic faith, for them to pray in the Masjid al-Haram, and then for them to leave Makkah, the struggle that they had to go through to leave Makkah, that each one of them, they had a story to tell. And so because of this reason, from what is falsehood to haqq, from what is insecurity to security, what is the Muslims that went through persecution to a place where they have safety, where they could practice their deen, they could uphold their faith, and they would not be threatened in any way or in any form. Umar bin al-Khattab, he readily accepted that the hijrah should be that point. And so Muslims, the hijrah for us is a remembrance of the difficulties and hardship of the Muslims. And the practices and the implementation of the Sharia that happened in Medina is what we have with us. That most of the Sharia came down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. From the fasting to the Hajj to the Zakat and every other aspect of this deen came down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once he was in Medina. Muslims, the Hijrah or the New Year that we have is this remembrance. And for us to read a little bit about this history of what happened during the Hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our New Year is not a New Year of celebration, like what the Christians and other faiths that they do. Our New Year is not a New Year of greetings, like what other faiths they do. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has given us the two Eid, and he said, قَدْ أَفْضَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ خَيْرًا مِنْهُمَا, that Allah Azza wa Jal has given you that which was better, or that which is better than the practices of the people of Medina at that time. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So our New Year does not have a celebration. Secondly, Muslims, we are in one of the most sacred months that Allah He has created. Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, إِنَّ الْعِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شَهْرًا, that the months that with Allah they are 12. يَوْمَ خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ مِنْهَا أَرْبَعَةُ حُرُمٍ, that the months are with Allah they are 12. 4 of them they are sacred. The day in which Allah He has created the heavens and the earth. And so these months, they are not made sacred by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, neither Ibrahim alayhi salam, but it was made sacred the day in which Allah He has created the heavens and the earth. And from that time until the end of time, it would remain sacred. What is meant by sacred is that fighting during this time and honor and respect and sins should be avoided during these times. As Allah, He said, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسِكُمْ, that do not wrong yourself in these months. And the biggest of those wrong is to commit shirk and associate partners with Allah. And then sins, and disobey Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. O Muslims, the sacred months, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, ثَلَاثٌ مُتَوَالِيَاتٌ, the three, one follow after the other, meaning Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram, and Safar. And these are the sacred months, the day that Allah, He has created the heavens and the earth. And the most sacred of those months, those 4 months, is the month that we are in, the month of Muharram. And the Quraysh, they used to respect or give extra respect to the month of Muharram. That they used to say, Shahrul Muharram al-Asam. The month of Muharram that is extra sacred. So they used to be very careful during the month of Muharram. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he directed us as to what action should we do during the month of Muharram. And he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, أفضل الصيام بعد شهر رمضان شهر الله محرم. That the best of fasting that one could do after the month of Ramadan, deferred fasting, is Shahrullah Muharram, the month of Allah that is called Muharram. And here we could note that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he associates the month of Muharram with Allah. That he said, Shahrullah, the month of Allah. And no other month has been given this title, or this association, or this idafa, or this connection to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And whenever anything is given a direct connection to Allah, a direct link to Allah, it shows importance. And it shows that we should pay attention. And it draws us close to what Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, or what He associates Himself with. Like, for example, we say Kitabullah, the book of Allah, or Baytullah, the house of Allah, or Kalamullah, the words of Allah, or Naqatullah, the camel of Allah. Meaning that there is a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of importance, that Allah, He draw these things close to Him. And so the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Shahrullah Muharram, the month of Allah that is called Muharram. So what is required from us, generally in the month of Muharram, is that we try to increase in ibadah and in worship, and especially fasting for the sake of Allah. Fasting for the sake of Allah, and we increase in good deeds during the month of Muharram. Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he said that if a person end the year in good deeds, and he start the year in good deeds, that perhaps Allah would give him tawfiq, would give him the ability during the year to do good things. What does that mean? Is that the last month of the Islamic year, Dhul Hijjah, is that we try to keep up. We have tried to keep up the first 10 days. On the day of Arafah, we fasted. Or we have intention to go and perform Hajj. And we honor the month of Dhul Hijjah. And then when the month of Muharram comes, we involve in some sort of ibadah, that Allah would give us the ability for us to continue the year in doing things that are good, doing things that are close to Islam. Give us the ability that when the year comes and perhaps not much happening in the year, that when someone invited you for you to come to some halaqah at the mosque, or you have a choice to sit in front of your TV or to sit with your family and walk to the mosque, that Allah, He will give you that tawfiq to tell you, for you to remember that shaitan is bothering you, that you should attend the mosque or come to that which is good, come to that which is khayr. And this is what Hassan al-Basri, this is what he meant. O Muslims, the month of Muharram is indeed a sacred month. And especially the Ashura, the 10th day of Muharram. And the history of the Ashura is that Aisha radiallahu anha, she reported from that which is authentic, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Makkah, he used to fast the day of Ashura. And not him only, even the Quraysh, they used to fast the day of Ashura. And they used to tell one another that if you have certain sins that you really want Allah to remove from you, then fast the day of Ashura. So that used to be something that is used to practice among the Quraysh, that used to fast the day of Ashura. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself, he used to fast the day of Ashura. So when he came to Medina, he saw the Jews there fasting this day. And they fasted this day, and in the night, they would celebrate, or they would commemorate, or they would dress up, or they would share food around. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he inquired from them, "Ma hadha al-yawm alladhi tasumuna fi?" Now, what is this day that you are fasting? And they said that this day, Najjallahu ta'ala bani Israel bin Fir'aun. Najjallahu ta'ala bani Israel bin Fir'aun. فَنَسُومُ شُكْرًا لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. That this day, Allah, He has saved Bani Israel from Fir'aun. And so we fast this day in gratitude to Allah. In gratitude to Allah, we fast this day. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِمُوسَى مِنْكُمْ. That we are foremost, or more beloved to Musa alayhi salam than you. And note that Bani Israel, they said, the people of Medina, they said that we fast this day thanking Allah to show gratitude towards Allah for what Allah, He has given us, or what He has granted us. And this is important lessons for us Muslims. Because a lot of us, we complain. And we complain about the simple or the little discomfort that we face on a daily basis. Either we complain about the weather, or either we complain about the traffic, or either we complain about the food at home, and we complain all the time. But none of us, we are people that we show gratitude towards Allah. That we look around to the heavens of what Allah He has, and we show gratitude towards Allah. We are not thankful. We are not thankful to our wife for what they provide. Or the wife and the woman, they are not grateful towards their husband. And so a lot of ingratitude is within our society. That we are not grateful towards human beings. And if we are not grateful towards human beings, then how can we be grateful to the Almighty? How can we be grateful to Allah? And so it's to remind us that we should be grateful. Grateful to one another and grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal. And so the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he fasted this day. He fasted this day, and this day was the first day that fasting was compulsory. The day of Ashura. The day of Ashura. And the compulsion of this day was something that the companions, they took very seriously regarding the compulsion of this day. That is Sahha and Arabiya bint Ma'ud radiyallahu anha أنها قالت أرسل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم غداة العاشوراء إلى القرى الأنصار التي حول المدينة. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he sent out in the middle of the day, he sent out to the villages that surround Medina to inform them, and he said, من أصبح صائما فليتم صومه. That whosoever was fasting started the day, they didn't have breakfast, so they didn't have anything, let them complete the day fasting. ومن كان أصبح مفطرا فليتم بقية يومه. And whosoever had something in the morning, let them stop eating. Let them stop eating and complete the day fasting. And complete the day fasting. فَكُنَّا بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ نَصُومُهُ. And after that, immediately after that, we fasted it. وَنُصَوِّمُ صِبْيَانَنَا. And even our young children, we get them to fast. We get them to fast. ونصوّم صبياننا الصغار منهم ونذهب إلى المسجد ونصنع لهم لعبة من العلم. And we get our children to fast and we make them a little straw toy for them to play. So when they become hungry and they're complaining about their hunger, we give them something to preoccupy themselves so they would not complain and they would finish the day fasting. And so from the adults to the children, they get them to be accustomed to fasting. And this is something that we need to take on board, because we are very much pitiful for our children, or they are too small, or they have to go to school. It's too difficult for them to fast. They can't concentrate in class. And we give the priority, we give the priority toward their academics and not toward the tarbiyah and the Islamic practices. We don't give priority towards the Islamic practices. We play dumb, or we give little attention to them. And this wasn't the case with regards to the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they used to give the tarbiyah towards the children. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر ولكم وسائر من كل ذنب واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Muslims, after Ashura became the third fasting for Muslim, and we understood clearly the importance the adults and even the children they played in completing that third fasting. When the fasting of Ramadan came down and it became hard upon the Muslim, then the fasting of Ashura was no longer compulsory. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Man sha'a minkum falyasum, fa'ana sa'im." That whosoever wants to fast, then they can, but I will be fasting. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the time he was in Medina, he continued to fast. He continued to fast all the time, the day of Ashura. And in the last year before he passed away, he said, لَإِن بَقِيتُ إِلَى الْقَابِلِ لَأُصَوِّمَنَّ التَّاسِعِ. That if Allah would spare my life, then he would fast the ninth day. The ninth day. And so from the verbal sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you want to stick to the verbal sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then the best days to fast is the ninth day and the 10th day. This is based upon the verbal sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the scholars of Islam, they said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that to be different from the Jews and the Christians, as one narration stated. That he did that to be different from the Jews in their fasting. And so Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he said that a full difference, that if you want a total difference from the Jews and their fasting, then we fast the 3 days. We fast the 9th day, the 10th day, and the 11th day. And that would be a total different from the Jews and how they are fasting. And there is not anything wrong for us to fast the 9th and the 10th, or for some reason we could not make the 9th, for us to fast the 10th and the 11th day. And yet again, there is not anything wrong for a person just to fast the day of Ashura by itself, which is the day of Monday. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked regarding the fasting of Ashura, and he said, أَحْتَسِبُ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَنْ يُكَفِّرُ السَّنَةَ الَّتِي قَبْلَهُ. That I hope and pray that Allah will remove the sins for one entire year. And the sins that would be removed, they are the minor sins. As for the major sins, then we need to turn in sincere repentance to Allah. That we be constant in our dua and our supplication regarding the major sins. As for the minor sins, they all will be removed by us fasting that day of Ashura. 1 day or 16 hours, that sins for a whole year, would be forgiven. And so Allah Azza wa Jal is giving us opportunity because He loves us and He cares for us, and because He does not want to hold us accountable for our mistakes and our faults. Because after all, we are Bani Adam, and we are Khatta'un, and we make mistakes. We make mistakes on a daily basis. With our eyes and our ears and our tongue, that we say things loosely. And so, by us fasting the day of Ashura, all of these minor sins would be removed. And we hope and pray that Allah He enable us, for us to fast the day of Ashura, which would be on Monday. And also on the day of Monday, is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to love to fast. And he was asked, and he said, that day he was born. And so for the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we love him so much, we would combine a day that he loved to fast along with another prophet, and the day that they fast, the day of Monday and the day of Ashura, is combined into one. O Muslims, finally, during this time, the sect of Muslim that they commemorate the death of Al-Hussein ibn Ali radiyallahu anhuma. That may Allah be pleased with Al-Hussein and be pleased with Ali radiyallahu anhuma. And they commemorate in a way that is not befitting. That is not befitting for Muslims to commemorate the death of Al-Hussein. The death of Al-Hussein was tragic. Was tragic for this ummah, for the household, for the Sayyid al-Shabab, for the senior of the young people, that would be given a high title that they would enter into Jannah. For Ahlul Bayt, for the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for him to be killed in such a way, for him to be martyred in such a way. It is indeed very sad what happened to Al-Hussein at Karbala. But as Muslims, we need to take things in perspective. That what happened to Al-Hussein was indeed very sad. But we are not selective as to our commemoration, our mourning of the deceased. For this sect of Muslim, they only commemorate the death of Al-Hussein ibn Ali. And they beat themselves, and they tear their clothes, and they crawl on the ground, and they celebrate in mourning and sharing food. And the day of the 10th of Ashura, they would not fast. They would not fast like the rest of the Muslims. And we say, if Al-Hussein was dreadfully being murdered, or he became a martyr in this way, that they were better than Al-Hussein. They were better than Al-Hussein, who were also martyred. Like his father Ali radiallahu anhu, that he came out of Fajr and he was stabbed and killed. Or Umar bin al-Khattab, he was praying Salah and he was killed. Or Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, he was reciting Quran. He was reciting Quran when he was martyred and he was killed. And many prophets before, like Yahya and Zechariah, and many of prophets and those that were better than Al-Hussein. So why are you selected? And in the way that you do things, it's against the Sharia. It's against what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has advised. That we don't hurt ourselves. We don't self-inflict punishment upon ourselves. We don't wail and we don't scream. And this here is against the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Muslims, we beg and pray to Allah that Allah enable us for us to pass the day of Ashura and for our family to get together in that which is good. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك وأعداء الدين. ربنا لا تضع في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا شفيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا من له حاجة من هوائج الدنيا هي لك رضاه ولنا فيه صلاة إلا أنتم وعليه الصلاة وعليه يا أرحم الراحمين. We beg and pray to Allah for those of our community who are sick, or those who have passed away. We beg and pray that Allah give them shifa, and those that are passed away, that Allah have mercy upon their soul. And we beg and pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah, He ease the difficulties of Muslims wherever they are. That He ease the difficulties of Muslims in Palestine, in Syria, in India, in Sham, and in other places of the world that Muslims, they are suffering, or they are going through difficulties and hardship. We beg and pray to Allah that Allah He ease our difficulties that we are facing, the difficulties of stress, the difficulties of work, or the difficulties of pregnancy, or whatever hardship family they are facing, that Allah He make Islam and He make peace. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى ينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا